And we are recording episode 10 of the Trove Design podcast with Andres and Charlie. Thank you for joining us, all of you who viewed. Last time we talked with Nathan and Stephanie from Gold Sheep Design, and that was a great conversation around niching down and or doing the playground method, which if you don't know what the playground method is, please go back and watch that episode. It has some really good nuggets, and you'll be seeing some shorts from that one on YouTube as well. So check that out. Today, in today's podcast, we are going to talk about is design for everyone. And so I don't want to niche this one down too much. I want to just keep it pretty general. And I want to ask that to my co-host, Andres, of is design for everybody? Andres, what do you think?
I think it is. I think we talked about this in the green room a little bit. Everyone is that I really do think design is for everyone because inadvertently you're designing your life somehow. The way you pick your clothes, the eyeglasses that you choose, the headphones, and it's all within your means. So you're doing it already, and it might not be as prominent as like graphic design or physical product design or stuff like that. You might not be able to have the skills to do that yet, but it can be taught. I think that design in itself is not innate, meaning that you aren't born like this amazing graphic designer. It can be taught. And so with experience, just like with how you design your life and the glasses that you pick, is that actually Charlie's has an amazing short that explains this. Is that throughout your life experience, is that you get inspiration from everywhere. Like maybe I saw these glasses on somebody else that I really look up to. Actually, if I even think really hard, Eric Speakerman kind of wears these glasses. And if you don't know who Eric Speakerman is, he's this amazing German typographer and owns a font shop called Font. Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on the name. Font shop. Oh, I think it is called Font Shop. Anyways, audience, if you're out there and you can correct me, please do so in the comments. Sometimes I screw these things up because we're doing it live, not live, but live. Anyways, that's my quick answer for you, Charles.
Yeah, I love that. I think, like you mentioned, in terms of the inspiration episode that we did, or we took a small snippet around finding inspiration from there. Really, we're kind of the filters for everything that we see in the world, and a lot of our designs come through our filter, and just taking other snippets from different areas and putting it through there and coming out. So I think design is for everyone. When I was working in house with a major tech company, they talked a lot about design process and design not only for designers, but looking at how can we utilize similar design principles. So you're talking about looking at user research or doing the kind of double diamond approach of defining the or what is it? It's looking at the problem, defining it, doing design, and then executing on that. But everyone in the department can do that. It doesn't have to just be design, like engineering or project management or marketing. Even anyone can really use those same concepts and apply them to to the work that they are doing. I'll have to find that actual double diamond design process. Go look that up. I think we also talked about that in another program. But really, all that to be said is I think design is for everybody because anyone can use those concepts to work on how can they design their work a little bit better or how can they make their work a little bit better, communicate it. Really, it looks at all areas of life and even for personal aesthetic. I mean, you're designing your house, you're designing your clothes, like you mentioned, Andres. You're designing kind of that aesthetic, and even if you don't think you're doing it, I think we do it subconsciously, right? Maybe you're somebody who likes to wear jeans and a t-shirt, and that is you. Then you're subconsciously designing that, right? And you're taking your personality and creating your personality, which is a design. But then in a workplace setting as well, like I mentioned before, I think you can. That was a really long-winded and a kind of roundabout way to say yes. I think design is for everyone. Yeah, Andres, did anything there pique your interest?
Yeah, so let's narrow down on you a little bit so that we get a little so examples out there for everyone. And again, if you don't agree with this, please let us know in the comments. Like, let's hear what you have to say about this, because I think we do. We design a lot of things for ourselves, uh, and like what Charles was saying with that filter, there's certain things that you gravitate towards. So, for an example, for me, I love horror stuff, believe it or not. And the one thing that I really like is that I like being scared for whatever reason, and I guess I have to figure that out in therapy one day. Anyways, but the cool thing about horror and scary things, it has like this vibe to it. And sometimes when I'm out in the world, I like to have that vibe, and maybe I'm in a place where I really don't want people to talk to me, so I'll wear all black or something like that. Kind of like today. And it's like, oh, they're wearing black. Maybe they're like a black sheep or something like that. So they'll leave me alone. And then there's other times where I'll wear a certain outfits, and like I want to be more approachable, so I'll probably wear blue and stuff like that. And it's scientifically proven that if you wear blue, people will trust you more. And that's another thing. You can really engineer your life at that point, when once you start learning about these nuances of design and apply it. And then I think it's a really good thing, because certain situations you want to give off a certain vibe, and I think that's applicable for anyone. So that's the way I look at it. So, for going back to you, Charlie, what I want to ask you is like, how did you develop your aesthetic? And just to break it down for everyone, I know Charles for quite a bit of my time in the past year, is that Charles is an outdoor person. You can tell he wears a lot of green, and he also loves that Patagonia type of look, because he really encompasses like the outdoor lifestyle, and he's been a product designer in that space too. So break it down for us.
Yeah, well, first of all, I wanted to go back and I found my notes on the double diamond process. So it is the first one is discover. So you branch out, you discover around your idea, then you define it back into a single problem that you want to focus on, and then you do design work. So you kind of ideate on that problem, and then you deliver on that design and narrow it down into one solution. So I wanted to just clarify that up for everyone on the double diamond process. And then Andres, back to your question on like, how did I find my style? I think, and kind of echoing back to the black sheep method that they were talking about in the last episode with the playground style, is something where you just try out a lot of different things and then you see kind of what resonates with you personally, and you start working from there. And so for myself, the granola lifestyle is kind of what I really aspire to be and look forward in. And so, especially around design and just, I mean, sustainable design. I'm a product designer. And so the one thing that I do is develop products, which is kind of, some people could argue is just putting more trash into the world. And so I think it's really important to be an eco-conscious producer of products. And I know that there is a really big push, especially in the outdoor product industry, to make sure that we're developing as eco-sustainable as possible. Whereas I think the best way that we could do that is maybe if I was out of a job and was not a product designer. So it's really interesting where you're coming at with that. But for my personal style, yeah, I think it's just a blend of all the things that you really enjoy, and not being afraid to show that and to share that. A phrase that I say with a couple of my friends is basically like, it's 2022, wear whatever you want, or it's 2022, do whatever you want, to a certain extent. And so that's kind of some of the process. And I've worked in jobs where they kind of limit a lot of your personality. And I think particularly as designers, our personality is one of the reasons why you hire us. So why would you want to limit that? That does not make sense to me. When you're working in some corporate jobs, and you have to wear particular outfits, or there's a dress code, I understand why they're there in some cases, but I think being able to express yourself in your clothing or in your work is just really important for getting the best possible outcome, right? And the best possible flow through your personal filter, if you're going back to that concept. So for my personal aesthetic, it's just a lot of, I really enjoy nature. I really enjoy being outside. It energizes me, as well as just it's a great place to be. And so I want everyone to be out there, and that's kind of why I've gone towards that route in my personal style. But what about yourself, Andres? I know like a lot of designers have this like I mean, you and I have a very similar
We
glasses
talked
style,
about
and
this.
so yeah, I think a lot of designers can sometimes have very similar design pieces.
Yeah, why you copy me, Charles? Just
I am
kidding,
copying you.
everyone.
Andres did have it first, for the record.
No,
So
no, no. Just kidding. Yeah, I always wondered that how a lot of the creative people we tend to want to be the same but different at the same time. It's very interesting in my opinion, but it makes sense in a way because that's our crowd. Like that's the type of people industry that you see a lot of these people dress and stuff like that. So it does make sense in the end of the day, like that we want to look kind of similar because we're cut from that cloth, and we're probably in similar industries like design and art. Like you see a lot of people with a lot of what is it called? There's probably a good word for it. Uh, eccentric clothing, like very loud clothing is what I'm
loud
trying to
clothing,
say.
yeah.
And then you get the other side too, where it's very understated, elegant, designed, high-end clothing. You see a lot of designers like that. So if you think of people like Johnny Ive or Dieter Rams and stuff like that. Actually, I don't know if they wear that high-end clothes. They're actually more like dad clothes. But you're trying to you see what I'm trying to get at, right? It's
Hmm.
that there's different types of it, and I guess as you mature in terms of age, like you want to get more of an elegant or sophisticated style, and I think that's where I'm at now. Sometimes we'll wear like like the clothes that you were saying, like more business casual, and
Hmm.
it really falls into what I want to project in the world as like a professional, a graphic designer, professional,
Hmm.
whatever, illustrator, whatever it is that I say to the people out in the streets these days. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, so I mean, I want to ask to the people viewing too. Obviously, the question of do you think that design is for everyone? I'd be really interested, and we'd be really interested, I guess, to maybe talk more about. I know there's a lot of memes out there about designers and what it takes to be certain designers. Like you have to buy the certain kind of glasses, or you have to grow a sketchy beard like I have, or do other stuff like that. So that could be really interesting. But I think you kind of hit it on the head, Andres, where you're saying like we want to fall in this group, but it's a group of individuals. And I think that that's actually really beautiful if it's executed correctly. I think in a lot of today's world and society, we don't execute that as good as it could be. And that's coming from any side. If you want to get political, but let's not do that. So I think just being able to embrace like yeah who you are and realizing that that is a really important filter to focus your thoughts and your designs through to come out, and that is valuable, but also realizing that maybe there's another filter. I know when you work in corporate offices, there's usually like a design brief or a design message that you have to stay under, and so making sure that you can kind of adapt that to wherever you're working, and having that there as well. But being able to be fluid and exercise some of those design thoughts are really helpful. And if you are not a designer, if you're, I don't know, an accountant or a project manager or any number of jobs that we would not say you're a designer, I would just encourage you to look at design in a way to improve, or to continue growing in your particular field, and using kind of whatever method you find or comes to you to say, okay, how can we shake things up, or how can we make things a little bit better within our processes, and how can we help our clients better, our company better, or even just your personal work atmosphere. How can that improve? So I would suggest that everyone look at design and see what you can pull from it, because it isn't just for designers. It is for everyone.
So what would some of those tropes be, if that's the correct word here that I want to do? So for an example, color, is it the process? If I were to answer my own question, I think because I'm now getting passionate about it, is if you really want to be a designer, let's say you are just about to graduate high school and you're taking a leap year. I don't know if you even call it that anymore, or you're in high school and you're thinking about a design career, is is if you want to be a designer of some kind, I think the number one thing to think about is the process, the thinking behind what goes into a design of some kind of piece. Like Charles said earlier, is that some the memes, like you have to have the thick glasses or like these kind of glasses or a type of haircut. Scrap all of that. Like don't think about any of that. Is that it's the process. Like that's what will separate you from other people if you can understand that process super well, like what Charles was explaining earlier with the double diamond. So Charles, what are some of those tropes that people should maybe think about, or examples that when you're thinking about design, that they should consider? I went with color because I think that's huge. That's really important because depending on the color, it gives off a vibe.
Yeah, I think that falls under, well, in product design, everyone talks about form versus function, right? And I think I mean, in a lot of design, that makes sense, right? You have those two big ones. The color definitely falls underneath, I would say both. I'd say a lot of different things that you described fall underneath both of those and really weighing the balance of each. And I would argue where some people say maybe function is higher in terms of um, what you should be looking for. I think that they are equal personally, and I think that form is uh, just as necessary and important and just everything as function is. And so you really need to be able to marry both of those. Whereas there's a lot of people that come in, it's kind of poop on form for being not function driven or heavy. But there's a lot of historical work and evidence that shows that form is actually really important. I'm trying to come up with an example off the top of my head. I can't. So maybe if you have one in the comments, just please put those in the comments and we can talk about that, or we can kind of look at that and come back to the question. But I would say, ooh, man, that's hard. I agree with just process. Like that is a huge part of it, and being able to uh, adapt to that process. And really, the great thing is you can kind of input whatever work into that process, and then and get some sort of outcome on the other side. So that would be my answer, Andres. Kind of a workaround answer.
And that's okay. I think we're heading towards the end of this episode today. And if you enjoyed it, like please consider subscribing and again joining on this conversation that we're having today. So with that being said, you are a designer. If you inadvertently and not knowing, potentially, maybe you are and do know this, and you are going about your life, designing the way you want to be perceived and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's a great thing, and you definitely will find your tribe. Like, for an example, now I have something I can connect with Charles every time I see him with the glasses.
Yes.
Anyways, that's all I got for today. Any final thoughts from you, Charles?
Yeah, I just think what you said, Andres, is that everyone can be a designer. Everyone is a designer already, and we just encourage you to kind of continue to explore that in your own life, whether it's personal clothing and attire, personal aesthetic, or in your work that you're doing. And so, yeah, please consider design in all that you're doing. And yeah, that would be my final thoughts. So, without any further ado, Andres, do you want to close us out?
Oh, one last
Oh,
question.
one
So for
more.
anyone out there, I just had inspiration just a moment ago. Is if you ever want us to talk about is a design career good for you, let us know because I think that's something we both can talk about. And there'll be times where it feels like you have to be at your desk for 10 hours, and that's like a cautionary tale that I would love to tell anyone out there, because I don't know if you've ever been there too, Charles, where you're working at your desk for 10 hours and it's because of design nuance, the pixel perfect type of thing is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know how that falls into physical product design, but I'm sure there's stories there where you maybe you have had
There,
to pull out all nighters.
Yeah, there are definitely stories. So we can definitely talk about that. Let us know if you would like to hear more about that.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye bye, everybody.